I'm not going to do it, and that's it.
Going forward, like any in-person event we do from now on, we're going to record regardless of the fact and have it as an archive type thing, so that if this happens again or something, we just have it in our back pocket that we can pull out. Something we should have been doing all this time, but we know now.
Yep, I think that's what we're going to do too.
Yeah, that's definitely something that is kind of on our agenda today to think about. All this stuff that we're putting up online, everybody has that recording technology. So when we go interactive with other people, there's obviously permissions and reposting capabilities and legal aspects. But it's definitely something that everybody can use as an asset for your own program, but definitely as a resource to where we're at least prepared moving into the future. If something like this happens, like Jason said, you have other things to work with. So, all right, guys. Well, out of respect for everybody's time, what I thought we would do, for those of you that have never met in person, I'm Ashley DeBlasi, IMC's Assistant Director of Professional Development. Jason, I can't remember if we've ever met face-to-face. I know we've chatted quite a few times.
Yeah, I think we've talked on the phone, but not face-to-face. So.
Yep, I don't think we've met face-to-face, so nice to officially meet you. I also have Jason Campus from Mississippi. We have Tracy Borst, who is from New England. Tracy, just wave so everybody knows who you are.
Everybody.
And then Jennifer Sisane down in my corner is Virginia. And Ellen Freeman Wakefield is Nebraska. So also on board with the program so far are a couple of other institute directors. We have Colorado, Kathy Novak. She's not able to join us today. She's a full-time professor at one of the Colorado universities. So she's not able to join us here today. But we also have a couple of other institute directors that are interested in being a part of this program. So what I thought we would do, if it's okay with everybody, is record today's call. That way we can share it with everybody that's interested in doing it. Is everybody okay with being recorded today?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So what I wanted to kind of go over is we flushed out some more of the details, the little logistics behind this program. So I thought what I would like to do today is kind of come to a consensus on how we're going to move forward. Our target start date is going to be the first week in June. So realistically, we have about a week to come up with the content of the program, work out the final details, and start the advertising process. I'd like to give participants at least 2 weeks, 2 full weeks to be able to register for the program. That way we can fill the seats, but they also don't feel like they have to rush and do it tomorrow. So my thought process is that I have a form in one of the software programs that we use to plan our annual conference. It's kind of like a course review form where I would love for everybody to fill that out. I will send it to you as soon as we get off of the phone with a recap of today's meeting, and have you guys fill that out. And what it'll ask for is things as simple as tell me what your title is that you want to offer, what your description is going to read. It doesn't have to be super detailed. We're just looking for a paragraph or two. That way we can advertise the content to the members. It's also going to ask for your name and information, what your preferred assessment method is going to be. So with assessments, we have quite a few options. We can do online assessments that are just multiple choice, self-graded. The system will automatically do it for us. We can do fill in the blanks with an answer key, same kind of idea. We can do short essay if you or your facilitator, whoever you decide to make a representative of your university, wants to do and review those essays or short answer questions. We can do it that way. Some people prefer a KTAP method, an ideas to action form, something a little bit meatier that makes the people put in quite a bit more effort. So in terms of options, I'm going to lay those options out for you in the actual form. Check which one you prefer to use. So we will also add in there, I have questions such as, what is your preferred presentation date? So I have all of the days that are outlined on there, and then who are you going to be using as a facilitator? What's their bio if it's not you? And then give me their headshot. That way I can start advertising a speaker profile for them, highlighting them or you yourself if you're the presenter, as well as your institute logo or university seal, whatever you guys use on your certificates or transcripts. That way we can co-brand everything and get everybody's representation on the certificates, as well as your W-9 for whoever we're going to be sharing that revenue split with. So that form I'm going to be sending to you guys. That way we can at least get the content rolling and start putting together a program. I would like to advertise all 8 sessions at the same time. So I'd like to say we've put together an 8-week program. Here's the classes that are going to be offered on these days at these times. Here's the 8 to choose from. Here's the registration links for all 8. Go register for them, and kind of just open it up to a free-for-all. So little details that we got to work out today is going to be the specific day of the week and the time that we want to offer these for one. So my initial thought process is, with what we've done so far webinar and response-wise, we find that Wednesdays tend to be the best days for people. You're kind of at the top of the hump. And Mondays and Tuesdays, people are bogged down. Thursday, Friday, you're kind of thinking into the weekend already. So we thought Wednesdays would work for everybody. 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Pacific time, California time, is where we've been keeping our webinars, and it seems to be a good response because it touches East Coast. It's not too early for the West Coast, but it also reaches international audiences in the Netherlands, United Kingdom at their dinner hour. So we still kind of keep everything across the board, being that we are international. Is there a general consensus that that kind of works for everybody that's on the call today, or are there any comments on preferred days or times?
I like that idea.
Good with that?
Works for me.
Okay. So let's plan on going Wednesdays then at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and we can adjust the time zones to make sure we advertise all of those throughout. Okay, so being that it's Wednesdays, the dates that we are looking at are going to be Wednesday, June 3rd, June 10th, the 17th, the 24th, and then the first 4 Wednesdays in July. So July 1st, 8th, 15th, and 22nd. So 4 Wednesdays in June, 4 Wednesdays in July. Now I want you guys to think about which Wednesday you would like to have. So in that form, it asks you for your top 3 choices. I know we have Virginia and Colorado. I know Jennifer asked to be put towards the end simply because of teaching schedules and previous engagements already. So give me a couple options and we'll do our absolute best to make sure that everybody gets a day and a time that works around your schedules. All right, if something doesn't work or it conflicts when we find that final schedule, let me know. I want you guys to be very comfortable with where you're slotted in there. All right. So give me those top 3 options. It's just a little checkbox there. The next thing that we got to work out is how many participants do we want to have on these calls? I did talk with California has 2 institutes and 2 institute directors. One is a CMC institute and one is an MMC. The MMC institute director is interested in participating, and one of her contingencies would be that we don't offer more than 100 people on these classes, simply because the higher numbers we go, the less engagement we're going to get, and the more people are going to get lost in a sea of people. So 100 is what we have right now slotted with the technology that we have. With Zoom, we purchased the webinar add-on, so we're able to use these as an interactive webinar rather than just as a Zoom meeting. It gives us a little bit more access to different features and also increases our numbers and our time lengths that we can run these meetings for. So we've gone ahead and taken care of that. If we want to go beyond 100, which is what's included in that package, we just need to upgrade our package. So I kind of wanted to check with you guys today to see how you feel about a class online where you're going to be able to see, it would be 49 participants on each screen. So if we have 100, we will be sliding back and forth between 2 screens showing a 49 and a 50 and then another 50 on the other screen. So give me some feedback. Let's start, Jason. What do you think in terms of actual numbers?
I mean, I think if you go any higher than like 20, you just as well go wide open, because I don't know that you're ever gonna see everybody and hear feedback and all that kind of stuff. So I was just trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, because if you want feedback, then you're definitely going to have to keep it a smaller number.
Right. Okay. Go ahead, Tracy. What do you think?
I guess I would want to hear more about what our content is going to be. So are you expecting that each participant will be heard from at some point?
No, I don't think that's realistic. Yeah, I don't think it's realistic. But the one thing that Zoom does have capabilities of is that we can break people into smaller groups. Right. So once we have that registration list, we can pre-assign people into rooms. It may be alphabetical, it may be no formula really to it, but we can break people up into groups, and that's where we would be hoping where the interaction comes. So that's where we'd be looking for the facilitators to give us some kind of small group activity or discuss this amongst yourself and one representative report back to the group, something along those lines. That way we do get some kind of engagement, and it's not just a talking head on the screen giving information to people. We want this to be two-way, but obviously it's hard when you can't just raise your hand and start talking. So not so much in each individual person, but small groups with maybe a reporter coming back to the group as a whole. Does that help?
Yeah, I think that's exactly where our presenter, this is along the lines of what he's hoping to see.
Okay. Yeah, and we can break them up into groups of 10, 10 groups of 10, and the facilitator can wander in and out of those rooms too. So they can pop out and say, hey, what's going on? Do you guys have questions? All right, bring that back to the group, things like that. Okay, Jennifer, what do you think, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the way the discussion is going today, and like Jason, I was saying, if it's beyond 20, that's when you kind of lose a little bit of the interaction. I haven't had a lot of experience with the breakout sessions in the rooms, but I've heard really good things from folks that you really can get some good discussions that you're reporting back. So I'm encouraged about that. In terms of the cap, I realize that it's interactive at 20, and then beyond that, we're still working on that. I think 100 sounds like a good number just to keep it a little bit manageable for our first run. Yeah. And if this goes well and we want to do this again, repeat it later in the summer or in the fall, then maybe we could open it up a little bit more. So I think it's a good conservative number and one that can reach a lot of people. So I think I like it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ellen, go ahead.
For me, I personally think it's too many. But because of the interactive part, and even though you have the rooms, I think that's great, but I think that can lose some of the sharing. And if you're in one group, then you're not necessarily going to get the other perspectives. And so, but I'm happy to cap it at 100. For me personally, when I've taught online more than 30 people in the group, it becomes unmanageable. But that's just me.
Okay, it's a good point. It definitely is. It's something that we need to think about. And a way to kind of find a happy medium too can be to have each individual institute director set how many people they want. So Ellen, if you're comfortable with 30 or 40 or 50, whatever it may be, we can have that session registration open to only that X amount of people. So if Tracy's okay with 100, Jason's okay with 100, Jennifer's good, we can give that choice to each individual institute director. Yes, this is a program as a whole, but technically it's each individual session, each individual institute going to be running it, if you will. And it's a representation of your institute. So if you want to make it smaller and a more intimate session, we can totally support that and just customize the registrations to fit that bill. So why don't I go ahead and build into the form that I'm going to have you guys fill out, just a question in there that asks me asks you, what is the maximum number of participants that you're willing to take? And I can, up to 100, and you can just give me a number, and whatever number you say is what we'll go with, what we'll run with. Tracy, go ahead.
Yep. And again, these are 2-hour sessions, right?
Yes, these are going to be 2-hour sessions. I apologize for not saying that at the beginning of the call.
Actually,
yeah, they'll be 2 hours. Yes, Ellen.
Have we thought about, say, starting it smaller so that we could actually see how this goes and see what kind of response that we get? So say we started at like 50 and we could see the response we get. And then if we got a really good response, then we could go back and say, you've really got to sign up quickly if you want to get a seat.
I can tell you that we've thought about it. The reason, here's where our mindset was. We released we've been doing all of our online webinars, and we have had 500 plus people register for each of these webinars within minutes of those e-briefings go out. So deep in my gut, you guys, I know these are going to sell out in minutes. As soon as we advertise it and as soon as those registrations start going, whatever number we set it at, it's going to fill. So we thought about doing, let's start it as advertising all 8 together and letting people register for all 8. And we only take on a maximum of 100 people total to continue through 8 weeks. And then we said, well, maybe people will want to register for one session, but they're not so much interested in the other ones. So we said, let's just register for each one individually. So in terms of thinking of who we serve, we're an international organization with 15,000 members. In the last, I think since April 8th till now, we've had well over 4,000 webinar registrations. And that's April 8th to May 7th, so the last 30 days. So my hesitation is making it too small is that we're gonna get a ton of people that are going to feel like, what about me? What happened to me? This was supposed to be something that was gonna help me too. So I agree with the let's start small, but I still feel like we need to start a little bit bigger than that just to reach a larger audience still on that small scale level. So far, we haven't discussed really repeating this again in the fall or the next 8 weeks, or if other institute directors see what's happening and want to get on board, we can extend the series into 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 15, whatever it may be that's necessary. So we can continue to add, but I hesitate to keep it too small just because I know the amount of people that I have in my inbox saying, hey, when's the next class coming? I need points. My institute got canceled. I was supposed to get 20 points. Where is it? We have a ton of those people that we want to make sure we at least give a significant number of people a chance to try to attend. So I don't know if that helps, Ellen, but that's kind of the middle ground we're trying to bounce around.
Yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. And I didn't realize we had that many people that were interested. So that helps me a lot. Thanks.
Yeah. The biggest eye opener, you guys, we've been talking about how do we encourage our institutes to go online for quite a few years now here in-house. We have Florida, who's really good at it. Alabama is really good at it as well. Cassie in Wisconsin, she's taking it all online now. I know Nemsi in the corner with Tracy, she's going to be taking possibly the July program online. So we've been bouncing it around forever, kind of working with our vendors and our sponsors to deliver some programs. We've put out a handful of online courses. It's never been our intention to put out enough to get certified online, but as we all know, where we're at now has kind of pushed everybody, 5-10 years ahead of where we actually thought we would be. So we definitely want to tread lightly here on the precedent that we set. We also want to go in making it clear that this is a trial program, that this may not be a long-term opportunity. It may not be long-standing, but we also want to make sure that we're giving enough people the opportunity to try to attend, to try to help. So the intention of the program is to help make up what people are missing. So if we limit it, how much are we really helping? So what other thoughts do you guys have in terms of numbers, format, just what we've talked about so far? Is there anything else that I can address for you before we kind of move on?
I'm assuming the revenues, we're going to get onto that.
Yep. Yeah, that would be my next one. So if everybody's good, we've talked as a group as staff, and here's what we would like to see happen. We have hooked up our PayPal account to our Zoom account to where we can process all of the registrations directly through Zoom. So the way our conference registration works is a little convoluted on our end. So the way that it happens is you'll fill out a form on our website. That credit card will get processed based on what you check. There is no checks and balances in terms of real-time seats available in a session. Our system doesn't handle that. So 20 people could register for a session, but there's only 10 spots that are actually open. So our system required our finance department and our registration department to go back and do quite a few refunds once a session sold out. So our thought process here is we don't want to see that happen. We want everything to be real time, 100 seats, 100 registrations, and that's it, or whatever number we come up with. So we've looked at quite a few different registration platforms and come back to Zoom. Where the webinar session kicks in is that we can charge paid registrations. So that added feature not only gives us more technology capabilities, but it also gives us the paid registration feature. So we would like to discuss with you guys, one, what you think fair registration fees, keeping in mind cut budgets and everything else that municipalities are dealing with. But two, we can collect those registrations. We'll get a pre-registration list. We'll send that over to our finance department and they can take care of things on their end, showing the money that's been coming in. We'll be able to give you guys a registration report showing the fees that each individual has paid. All IIMC would be looking to take out of that revenue is what it costs us to run the programs. So our Zoom webinar upgrade, whatever that may be, if we do online assessments or automated certificate emails, there's a cost to those. They're very, very minimal in terms of like $20 a month. I think our webinar add-on, if we don't increase it above 100, is $40 a month. So our expenses right now are minimal and we're working to keep them that way. So all that we would be looking for is to take portions just to cover the expenses. So technically it's nothing out of IIMC's pocket for our budget, which has taken a hit too. Any additional revenue that comes out of it above and beyond the expenses, we want to pass on 100% to you guys, to the institutes. So not looking for a revenue share, just cover our expenses, make sure our technology is covered, and you guys get the rest. So it can be put right back into your institutes. You can donate it to the foundation to create institute and academy scholarships for when you are able to attend an in-person, online, whatever you guys decide to do later. We can create an endowment in your state institute's name, giving that to the foundation, or you can just hold on to the revenue and put it back into your program. So whatever it is that you feel you want to do with those funds, we 100% support you. So when you fill out that course review form, we'll be asking for your W-9, and that's going to be the reason we need that information, is once we get all the registrations in and the session is over for your program, our finance department will cut you guys a check and send you the additional revenue or whatever's left to above and beyond expenses. So curious to hear your thoughts, one, about receiving that revenue, and then two, I'd like to open up a conversation about how much we think we should be charging. Our initial thought, just to give you some background here, is $25 to $50 per session. So if we're offering $50 per session, 8 sessions, the max somebody would pay would be $400. Times 100 registrations, $4,000, that would go back to you guys. So it may not be anything compared to what you're used to bringing in, but it's IIMC's way of saying, hey, we want to help you guys. We want to keep you floating. We want to keep some revenue coming in for you. So Jason, let's start with you. One, on the registration fee, and then two, on how do you feel about taking that revenue? Yeah,
the fee, I think $20 it would be fine, because we're not trying to make any money off of it. So I'm with Mississippi State University. I would like to try to direct that actually to our Clerks Association to help them, because right now we've not had an impact on our budgets with the university. That may come down the road, but to help them. So that's kind of how we would steer the money probably. And because the presenter would be somebody on our staff already, so we're not having to incur any cost. So. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, some of us are going to have to think about if we hire a facilitator, maybe the expenses come out of that revenue. You pay the facilitator out of there, and then anything extra you can split with the Clerks Association. You can keep it, or you can choose what to do. So that's a very good point. Very good thought. Tracy, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I think that sounds like where we plan to be. As you know, our institute is thinking about doing some online offerings this summer. And that's the range that we're looking at. The 25 to, and we are going to pay our facilitator to do this 2-hour course. So there's plenty there to do that. I'd have to go back to my board about keeping the revenue or donating some back to scholarship. We've had a discussion and the board is completely on board with all of this. And we're in line with what they were thinking.
Okay, perfect. All right, Jennifer, what are you thinking?
Yeah, thank you. Some wonderful points, and we really appreciate that the IMC is willing to organize all of this for us and have the money come back to the institutes, and we really appreciate that. In terms of the amount, I was thinking leaning toward a little bit toward the $50 range. And that, again, we'd have to be talking with our board about what we would be doing with that revenue. We're actually in the process of moving our institute, that's in October, fully online. And we know that we're going to have extra expenses with technology. Some of our speakers don't have webcams and we might have to mail things out to them. So we're really looking forward to having a little bit of cushion to help us get our institute online. So in terms of that, I think the $50 range sounds pretty reasonable for about 25 bucks an hour for a participant.
Okay.
That's what our preference would be.
Okay, understood. I know everybody's in a different situation institute-wise in terms of, like, Jason doesn't have to worry about the revenue coming in right now. Very, very fortunate. But, you know, Virginia and many of the other states do. There's some of their programs, and this will be a topic of conversation at the colloquium too, in 2 weeks, to where some institutes are really reliant upon the revenue from their programs. Some are not so much. So we have a really good balance here, and I think we're going to find that in this smaller group as well. So Ellen, tell us what your thoughts are.
From my experience of what we've been doing with the couple of online that we've done here, we've been charging $50 for a 2-hour session, and there hasn't been any pushback from clerks or the city councils or anything like that for that cost. They're very happy with that. They think it's fair, and so they would do that. For me, yes, we rely on the revenue. However, my university considers this to be part of my community outreach. So anything I do with the IIMC is community outreach for them. And so I would probably either divert it back to the Nebraska clerks through the IIMC Foundation that we have, or I would give the money back to the clerks to use for scholarships for next year.
Okay, sounds good. So from what I'm hearing, it sounds like we're okay closer to that $50 range. So why don't we go with that and see, we can feel it out with the rest of the institute directors that are going to come on board. We can send that out in the email. If there's a real issue with it, we can go back to being flexible and maybe we go down to 40 or the 30 just to find a good, comfortable number. I'd like the price to be the same across the board. I don't want to have one session be $25, the other be $50 for the same content, same points. We want to make sure that everything is very, very clear across the board. We bounced around the idea of, prior to bringing this to you guys, of offering a package discount. If you register for all 8 of them, you get, you know, $20 off, $40 off, whatever it was. But we didn't want to release one registration. We wanted to let people pick and choose the sessions that they wanted to attend. So even if somebody's registering for each of the individual 8 webinars, we're not going to be offering a discount or anything extra like that. No package options. So it'll, unfortunately, the thing that I see being the most tedious for people registering is that they're going to have to fill out 8 separate registration forms, make 8 separate transactions on their PayPal credit card, whatever it may be. So that's the only thing that we've bounced around. How do we avoid it? And we haven't been able to figure out a solution that still gives people the freedom and flexibility to pick what you want when you want, and lighten their workload a little bit in terms of registration. So if everybody's just aware of that, people will register for each individual session and make a payment for each individual one. The good thing about it is that we'll also be able to keep tabs on where the money is coming from, which sessions are going where. So we'll be able to share, like I said, the registration reports with you guys, and then we'll be able to cut you a check to your institute based on how your program did. So any questions about fees or anything else in terms of that kind of stuff, revenue share, revenue split, all that stuff before we move on? You guys are good?
This is open only to IMC members.
Right now, I would say yes. Let's keep it open to IMC members. That's our target audience, our target demographic. A lot of the webinars that we have put out there recently, we get those questions all the time. Can my city manager go to it? Can I take up this? But because we have such a limited number of seats this first go around, I'd like to keep it exclusive to IIMC members. So one of the things we'll be doing too is during the registration process, we'll be cross-referencing just to make sure that they are active IIMC members that are attending. So if somebody shows up on that registration form and isn't a registered member, we will either refund their fee and give that spot to somebody that is, or we can put them on a waiting list to where if we do that next round and we decide to open it up to the general public or different departments, then we can go and pull those names and numbers and let them know that there's another option for them. Okay, good questions, you guys. Anything else so far? Okay. So the final thing that I have kind of on my need to check the boxes here is going to be certificates, transcripts, and assessments. So the final wrap up. The way that we normally do our conference is we'll do scanning or some kind of self-tracking sheet when we're at the conference, all 16 hours, 20 hours, whatever they attend. And then at the end, our department goes back and manually creates transcripts based on the hours that they completed at the end of the program. So we'll drop those into our database. They get classified as a CEU activity. That way we can pull how many hours that person attended. They also get a transcript letter that has the IIMC logo, letterhead, outlines all the sessions that they attended. So we have a couple of options here. Again, I don't want to ask you guys to do more work. Our whole point in doing this is to be the logistical support behind the scenes for you. So we still would like to take on the responsibility of generating those transcripts or certificates. And we have a couple of options. The way that I see it is we can utilize our process and give one transcript or one certificate at the end of the 8 weeks saying, here's how many hours you specifically attended. We can put all 8 institute logo branding on it, plus IIMC's logo, and make it just one big certificate or transcript. It can come in a letter or a certificate form. So option number 1 is we make an overall program transcript. Option number 2 is we can issue individual certificates, individual transcripts, if you will, or letters to each of the participants that come to each individual session. So we can wait until the end of the 8 weeks and compile everything together, or we can do it as we go. So the week between sessions, we would be spending disseminating certificates based on those that complete the assessment. So if you guys want to provide institute certificate templates that we can use and simply add our logo onto it as well, we're happy to use your template. That way it's a direct reflection of your institute. And we just add on our little branding. That way it's a co-branded program. So I'm open to conversation and ideas, thoughts about how you guys see these transcripts going or certificates and what your initial reaction is to the option. Jason, let's start with you.
I'm fine. Since you guys are going to be doing the work, however it works easiest for you. I think if I was doing it, I would do it individually so that I don't have to worry about, did they attend them all or whatever. But yeah, I would do them individually. But again, if you guys are doing the work, we will take care of putting it on the transcripts we deal with in the back end. So. Okay.
Okay. The other question, you guys, I guess I should have asked, and I apologize for that. Are you comfortable with us doing it, for one? We want to be that support system for you, but if it's something that you want to do yourself, I don't want to take that away from you, trust me. So if it's something that you say, nope, I want to make those certificates, I want to email all 100 out, I will absolutely let you do it. So I should have asked if that was okay, but I was working under the assumption that the less you have to do, the better everybody would be. So if you want to address that too, Jason, that's totally okay. We're good? Okay. Tracy, let me hear from you.
Same thing. I'd say whatever's easier for IMC if you're doing it. If it's easier to do it after a week, if it's easier to compile them, whatever. I'm just happy that you're doing it.
Okay. Jennifer, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we agree too. And so thank you so much for taking that on. It is a lot of work, and that's something that takes us weeks and weeks to do over in Virginia. So we really appreciate the attention for that. I would love to provide a certificate that we have and then add your logo to it. And if it's at all possible to have the names and contact information of the people who participate in our particular section, that would be really helpful. I don't know how that is about sharing information, but at minimum, the ones that come into Virginia's session, we would love to have that information so that we can follow up with them by the speaker or as me as the Institute director, if that's possible.
Yeah, I don't see why it's not possible. We can definitely pull the registration list, and we get to customize the registration information that we collect from people during that process. So if we want phone numbers, emails, locations, we can customize all of that. And yeah, we're happy to share it with you guys as the Institute directors of at least your session. If you want them all, being that it's a joint program and we're going to advertise it as that. So I think when we send out the initial advertisement, we'll probably use all 8 of your logos plus ours and make some spiffy little graphic or something to show that this is a collaborative effort. So I don't see why not. I do need to check with our policy manual to see if there's, I know we have third-party privacy issues, but I don't see you guys as a third party. So let me do a little bit of research just to see that we're okay sharing that and see if we need to get that kind of permission in the registration form too. I know we're going to have to get permission to record the sessions, so we'll have to have them authorize us to do so during that registration. Or just say by registering for the session, you are agreeing to have the session recorded to be shown later. So we can work out privacy and then getting you information. But definitely, I don't see why any of those requests are unreasonable.
Okay,
Ellen.
great. Just one more thing. So for us, we would love to have the information for all the people that participate in it. And Virginia would be more than happy for the other institutes to have information about the people who register for our section and maybe not in theirs.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
And these are all being offered at the MMC level, right?
Yeah, all of our content, guys, has to be offered at the MMC level. There's certain topics where you look at it and you go, okay, well, how do you determine whether that's CMC or MMC? That's where during the course review process for the form I'm going to send you guys, if the content looks like, well, maybe we could beef it up or use different wording just to make it look at an elevated level, that's what we're going to be able to help you do too. The review process will be also to make sure that we don't duplicate any sessions. So if you have 2 or 3 sessions that you really feel would be good and you don't really have a preference on which one gets out there, and you want to give us options to pick and choose from, we're going to work through the session selection collaboratively. So I'm not just going to pick and say, yep, Virginia gets to do this and New England gets to do this. I'm going to bring all those to you guys and say, here's the lineup that we think will be the best. What do you think? Weigh in. Let's make sure that the sessions complement one another, that we don't see any real overlap, that they all work really well together. So we'll work through that process. I'm thinking if you guys can get your forms back to me in a week, we can take a couple of days, hash out all that, and then start to put at least the titles, the descriptions, and the registration out. But we definitely got to make sure that whatever topic we're offering is general enough to be passed on to an international audience, so nothing state or location specific, and everything has to be at that higher level to reach those working on their CMC and their MMC. So definitely keep those 2 things in mind when you're filling out that form for me this week. Okay. Ellen, let's hear from you on certificates and whatever else you want to weigh in on right now.
Whatever is easiest for you is fine with me.
Okay.
And if you need our logo, I can send you that, but whatever's the easiest. I think the easier we make it for all of us, the better it is. So whatever works.
Okay, agreed. So why don't I think it would be really cool, you guys, if we, in that form, when you attach your logo, why don't I also put a spot in there where you can attach your certificates, your templates, and we can drop our little logo on there, send it back to you for approval, just to make sure you guys are comfortable with what we're advertising. And we'll use your actual certificate sent out by IIMC, but with your full institute branding on there. And then we'll do co-branding for any of the advertisements. Does that sound okay with everybody? Okay, cool. So I'll do that. I'll update the form to add in certificate templates. Okay, the final thing on my agenda is they're not going to get a certificate unless they complete an assessment. So really start thinking about the assessments. We've all kind of come to the consensus here that we want this to be as simple as possible and as seamless as possible. So the more convoluted we get in the assessments in terms of looking at essays or ideas to action, you know, any of the loftier assessment methods that we see institutes using, I love them in person, but on this online one, we just have to be very conscious of how much time it's going to take the institute director to review them or the facilitator. We as staff aren't going to be comfortable reviewing the actual assessments, knowing we're not sitting in on the whole session, facilitating and delivering it. So we don't feel like we're the best person that's going to be saying, yes, this person really understands what we're doing here, or no, we're not. So what I would like to see is whatever assessment method you choose, just be prepared to, one, we can automate it and go to multiple choice, which it will be graded right away. They have to pass with, let's say, 70 or 80%. We can make it 20, 25, 10 questions, whatever we decide to do before that certificate gets issued. Some of the software purchases that we've considered are systems that will allow us to have a multiple choice assessment. If they pass it, a certificate will be automatically generated. So that would take one thing out of our hands as well. Obviously, that's our preferred method, but we want to be respectful of the entire session as a whole. So if somebody prefers to have a different type of assessment and give each individual feedback on their 3 paragraphs they write or whatever it is, we want to be respectful of that choice as well. So just keep in mind, we do have automated options and we have very manual options. Either way you decide to go, we're okay with it as staff. We'll figure it out and we'll make the certificates get out however we need to get them out. So when you think assessment method, just think we're going to have to come up with either questions for multiple choice, or keep in mind the amount of work that's going to be required for 100 people and who's going to be reviewing those assessments, you or your facilitator. So just keep that in mind when you answer that question, okay? In terms of the assessments too, we will need, obviously, if we're going multiple choice, we'll need those questions. That way we can start having those assessments created. That way they're just one touch for you guys at the end, or one touch for us at the end of the program that says, here's your assessment, go do it, and everything rolls from there. So we'll start to create those as we get them. So when you tell me what your preferred assessment is, you don't have to send me the template or the questions right away. But as soon as you have those available, we'll ask that you send those over, 1 for our records, but 2, so we can start running with those and getting them prepped. Does that sound okay? Are there any questions about assessments thus far, or anything else that we need to be addressing or thinking about? Jennifer, I know you unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you can tell I'm unmuted. So
Go.
yeah, the multiple choice, I'm very supportive of doing that. We have run into situations in the past where people have taken the test twice and they haven't gotten to the point of passing. So I'm just wondering if we can think through offering another opportunity, so they can take the quiz, they don't pass it the first time, they can take it again. If they don't pass it that way, do they automatically not get the credit for it, or can maybe they submit a memo sort of connecting it back how they use that information in their own municipality or something like that? Just kind of thinking what happens when somebody doesn't.
Yeah, it's definitely something we need to think about, especially because there are learning styles that just simply aren't good test takers, multiple choice or not, they're just not good test takers. So that is something we'll have to consider. I haven't thought about it, honestly. I know with the online courses that we have, we usually give people 2 attempts to pass the class. With, I think it's 70% is what we have it set at. So if somebody can't reach that 70% mark, I don't want to just rule somebody out and say, sorry, there's no credit. We try to be as flexible and err on the side of the clerk. but we would want them to either work with maybe you as the institute director or the presenter to say, okay, yeah, this person really gets it. Here's what we had them do, whether it be, you know, write the memo like you're suggesting, or some other kind of activity that we can work with them one-on-one. So we're definitely open to it. And I think we can kind of have a backup plan in our pocket to where if the situation arises and it comes up, then we can figure out how to work with those individuals one-on-one. Does that sound okay?
That sounds great. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Hey, Ashley, there are some systems where you can take it and they get the answer immediately, and if they get it wrong, they can take it again like 20 minutes or 10 minutes later, and then so that's maybe one way that they could do it too.
Okay. Yeah, if you have resources, Karen, who just popped on our phone call, so you guys can see her and wave to her. She's our new communications coordinator, if you haven't met her yet. She's going to be helping me on the tech side of all of this. She's going to be helping me, that way I can help you guys, be your support. So she'll be my little techie person, which is fantastic. I'm very excited to have her. She's also going to be helping me do all of the advertising on the social media, in the e-briefings that you'll see. So she'll help me write your descriptions if there's things we need to update, things we need to support you on. We've looked at a couple of different quiz formats, polling formats, things like that. But if you guys are familiar with any type of technology that obviously doesn't cost an arm and a leg for all of us, then feel free to share with me the links or any other information that you have, the website, the name of the programs, and I can take a look at them to see, one, what's financially feasible for us all, but then for two, what would be the best fit for us. Because personally, I would love to automate a multiple choice. You make sure that they really understand, and then the certificate goes out automatically. That would be beautiful. We worked with PrimeGov on April 1st and sent out a webinar for them. They had an online assessment, and I think they used a Google form of some kind. I think it was called Certify-em is the module that they used by Google. I think it was, but it sent out, I mean, they had 1,500 people on this webinar, and it sent out like 300 certificates, and then it hit its max capacity and didn't send out the rest. So we've been getting and filling out and addressing all of these different questions. Where's my certificate? It's been a month. Where's my certificate? So I really want to make sure that we choose the best platform to where we're not spending our time just answering questions, but we're spending our time supporting you guys. So the more automated we could go, the better for us. But again, we want to be respectful to you as the institute director and your choice. So if you got ideas, you guys share them. I am so open to them, whatever they are, share. All right, any other questions? I know we're coming up on that hour, and out of respect for everybody's time, is there anything else that I can answer for you? Any initial thoughts? Is there anything that I'm missing? We've racked this over in our brains so many times, but it's entirely possible that we completely glazed over something really important. So feel free to bring it up.
Will the participants be required to have a camera and microphone? I think that might be something you might want to specify up front, because we're running into people who've never used any of this before with a lot of our stuff. So
okay, yeah, good point. I don't want to make anybody required to be on video. So video, I think microphone, yes, we should definitely be able to hear the presenter, and the presenter should be able to hear you, especially if we're going to interact in group environments or the small groups. Now, odds are you're going to get people that still, even if we say here you're going to participate, they're not going to. We all know that. There's people that are just going to sit on the side and turn off their microphone and their screen. So our assessment is really the way to evaluate whether they got the content or not, whether they interacted or not. But you're absolutely right. We need to make it very clear what the technology requirements are up front. So I'll work with Karen to write up the requirements, the descriptions, what you need to know, the frequently asked questions. We'll put together a document that we can include with the registration links that says, here's what you're in for, here's what you need to have. So good point, Jason, though. Thank you for pointing that out, because I hadn't really thought about that. Good point.
Hey, Ashley, has anybody decided on their topic yet?
The only thing I've heard, and nobody said anything, the only thing I've heard is Kathy Novak in Colorado said, hey, we could do marijuana licensing in Colorado, what it's like. It may not be in your state, but it's coming. So I don't know if it was a joke, but I know there's quite a bit of sessions that we're seeing across the country, at least, not so much international, on that same topic though. So that's really the only real topic I've heard. I know when I did speak with the California Institute director who expressed interest 2 days ago, she was discussing adaptive leadership, something along those lines. So nothing has been finalized. So that's kind of the point where I can't do anything in terms of putting it together until we have that. So your number one priority is going to be to get me what you think is the best representation of your institute. You can fill it out 2 or 3 times. There's no limit on how many times you can fill out that form, but that way we can start flushing out that content and getting us some options that we can all sit down and choose from.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a team member that'd like to do something on COVID-19 crisis communication. So we're really excited about that. We think that would be very timely for folks.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's definitely a relevant topic, obviously, but even if it's, not so much even COVID-19 crisis communications, we can make it specific to that, but that content's going to translate across the board, any kind of crisis communication, no matter what it is, pandemic, biological, man-made, all that stuff, it'll play into it as well. So yeah, great topic. Now, if we end up with similar sessions, I will come back to you guys and say, hey, we got these 2, crisis communication wants to be offered in 2 institutes. Who wants to pick a different topic? I can make the decision if nobody wants to budge there. I can make that judgment call and be the authority there if we need to. But I really want us to work collaboratively to put together something that everybody is proud of, everybody is comfortable with, something in your wheelhouse in terms of this is what our institute represents right now in this day and time. So we'll all work together on it. But yeah, the sooner you guys can get this form back to me, I will email it as soon as we get on the phone or off the phone today. But the sooner you can get it back to me would be amazing for me to be able to run and start all of this stuff for you guys. Anything else? No? Okay.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you guys. We're really excited that you guys agreed to do this with us. We've been dreaming of doing something like this for a long time, and it's just never been a reality. There's never been a need. There's never been something that's pushed us to say, hey, let's all step up together. We've always wished we could get the institutes to work together on something, and this was just the opportunity that presented itself that we didn't want it to pass. So thank you so much, like from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for getting on board with this. Thank you for letting us support you. You guys are doing the heavy lifting by teaching, but we'll support you guys behind the scenes however we can. So watch for my email. I'll try to get that out to you in the next hour or so, and then jump on that form. If you have any issues or anything that comes up after this call and you go, oh, I forgot to ask, just send me an email, totally okay. I'll also put my cell phone number in there too. That way you guys are welcome to call or text me, either way. I do have 2 kids and I'm homeschooling. I'm trying. So if I don't respond to a phone call, text, or an email right away, just bear with me. I promise I will. All right. Any other questions for the good of the order?
Thanks.
Thank
all right, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.